So yeah, let's continue talking about transformation of the company and focusing on the technological disruption. The aspects I would like to bring in this video is about culture, about talent, and also about the power shifts. So, in my opinion, when we talk about a transformation in general, not only technological transformation, you always will have the people who decide. You will have then the people who matters for the transformation, so the so-called transformation agents. But you also have the winners and the losers. And this is a more diffuse population in the organization and difficult. So if we are talking from a board perspective, more difficult for the board to sense. I mean, you sense the winners, but it's more difficult to sense people losing in this transformation. And it's important because in that diffuse layer of people at several levels of the organization, you can have resistance. And that resistance will impact the speed of your execution of the transformation. In my experience, boards mostly focus on assessing the top management. So the capabilities and the talents at the top leadership team. But what is not easy for a board to assess is if there is a collective fit for the future business. And this is something which is also an important task for the management, to make sure that it's not only the leaders and the top leaders who are fit for the transformation, but that you create that collective fit. And that's for me a culture. It's a cultural transformation. If I think that lack of fit, it's only at the C-level, no, definitively not. It's shown at the C-level and it's addressed at the C-level, but the transformation happens at the layers before. So the execution happens very often at the layers before. So a leadership team can be strong, very strong, but still not be the wrong leadership team for the next phase. So it's important that when a board is assessing what is necessary in order to execute a transformation, that they have also these deeper layers in mind, and making sure that the management is aware about that. The leaders are initiating and the board is initiating and giving the direction, but the management and the company needs to make sure that it's executing and also running the company after the transformation was executed. Very often I say that when it comes to transformation, specifically when you are introducing new technologies, when you are introducing new business models, new way of working, you create a tension between, let's put it like that, new and old. And that's not wrong, but what I think should be avoided, conflicting toxic organization, where the teams are spending more time internally to figure out who is doing what, to figure out, who gets what incentive, than spending time to execute a transformation and to spend time with the customer. So that's a risk I have seen. Again, it's more on the management level. But I think it's important if the board have that in mind. We hear that technology is not mature, the customers are not ready, quality and reliability comes first. I mean, these are all very valid concerns, and this is really the risk management. But the board and the management needs to look at the transformation as a whole. So if you take those arguments like technology is not mature or customers are not ready, if you take that selectively, yes, they make a lot of sense, but that's not the role of the transformation. The transformation needs to be seen as a whole. It needs to be seen as a journey, as a shift of mindset. And then on the way, on the journey, you are mitigating the problems when they appear. And that's why, again, resource allocation, it's a very important. Alignment of the incentive is also something very important. I think you can see a pattern if that risk assessment, for instance, is if you have the same standards, if you are measuring that risk assessment with the same in the same way in, let's say, in the old business or business model and in the new one, or also even if the risk, how is it framed? Is it framed as something you can learn, something you can manage? Or is it framed as a reason to stop? And for me, again, looking at pattern in the organization, you need to understand who is benefiting from a delay, again, who are the winners and who are the losers, and to align all your activities around a very round and holistic view on the transformation. I think it has very much to do with the structural gravity each organization has. So in a transformation, you need to make sure that also that structural gravity is moving around the transformation and it's not reminding back and pulling back the whole organization. So a question, for instance, is how do we evaluate the leaders? Are we evaluate the leaders according to the today's result, or are we giving them an evaluation on the transformation and on the journey? How do we handle, for instance, setbacks? Because every transformation, I mean, it's not linear. It's with upside and downsides, and you have a clear direction, but you might have problems to solve on the road. Is this a career limiting if I have a setback in the transformation, yes or not? Is the success in the core business the way which is defining my career steps, or is it embracing the new way of working or the new technology or the new organization? So these questions are very, very relevant in order to understand that structural gravity and also to make sure that the structural gravity is moving around your direction. I think it's important as a board to have a very clear time horizon, and that time horizon needs to be visible to the market, needs to be made visible to the market. So to be clear as a board when profitability will dip, why and for how long, and what milestones signal will measure the progress, on the journey which we are taking. So it's not about being very optimistic. It's about to be very credible. So what works, it's a multi-year value narrative. It's making very explicit the transition phases, and to be aware that markets are punishing often the uncertainty and the surprises, and not if you have a temporary margin pressure. Another measure which for me would be important beside this time horizon, a very clear and explicit time horizon, it's having coming back to the culture and coming back to the structural gravity, to have this dual logic when it comes to the incentive metrics. Somebody who I deeply admire and admired during my career said measurement drives behavior. And I really believe in that. If you make sure that you have the right metrics, that you are measuring the right thing, people will also behave accordingly. And this is something I unfortunately see often not really taken care of, specific when it comes in this tension between the new and the old. In my opinion, the board shaped the culture, and that it's less through what they say, it's more through how they act and react under pressure. Because what they challenge or what they tolerate, what a board is rewarding, or what a board is quietly accepting, that becomes the real operating system of the company. In my opinion, technology enables the transformation, but of course, we all know that the talent executes it, and culture decides whether this will survive. If board ignores the people and the cultural aspect, even if the technology and the strategy is brilliant, it will fail or it will not give the expected results.